Okay.
Go ahead.
The Zentarum is going to give us 8 soldiers/guides. Let us use the secret entrances and their transportation routes, as well as giving us aid. This is also for this is for us, but they do agree that to help with the Brunner's ordeal as well. A letter of introduction to the Zentarum spy, last name of Dulak, and a pouch that will send a magical sword to somewhere with the Zentarum. I don't know if it's going back to the lady we talked to or not. What they want in return is 1/6 of the treasure gathered from the mission, a full report on what happened, and a sword that is held in the Drow stronghold in Mantle Dareth. We need the letter of introduction, I believe, so Dulak will give us he may not just hand it to us, but at least let us use this ring that'll help us find Graven Hollow. Without the ring, it's going to be much, much harder, if not impossible, to find Graven Hollow.
Okay.
And we're just trying to get everybody. Sorry. We're just trying to get everybody's opinion on if they're down with it.
Tony, I never got a chance to speak with you, so I'm going to send you a whisper in the chat.
Okay.
Tony, can you add the copy of the sword to my inventory?
Yes.
Thank you.
So we'll just do a swap out on that, so they won't know it's gone yet. Woo! Is it who's okay with it? Do you want me to put a vote on the fantasy grounds or no?
I'm okay with it.
I don't think we have a choice.
I'm okay with it. It's 3.
I'm on the fence, but I don't have any better options right now, so, I mean...
Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at.
Yeah. I like that the rogue left right now as an option to back out later.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna keep this back door cracked slightly.
You always got to keep the back door cracked.
I will not neglect to comment.
No, that's why I commented. Hello, it's me. Chris? Bomir.
What's up? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you say anything.
What's your opinion? Because everybody pretty much so far is down with it, but you know,
I'm down with it, but we haven't talked to anybody else about aid, really, huh?
Yeah, we're trying to just get honestly, I think we're just trying to get as much aid as possible for Brunner's little ordeal. The Zentarum, they're going to help us get to Graven Hollow. Now, if somebody else said, yeah, I know where Graven Hollow is, and they can get us there, then we may look at it. We have basically 24 hours to contact them. So we took an hour meeting in the morning, so we have to the following morning, tomorrow morning, to give her an answer. I don't want to wait to the last freaking minute as if it was like, yeah. But we can take our time and discuss it once we get done talking to the other factions that have agreed to meet with us.
Okay. Yeah, because the main one, I remember she even mentioned talking to the Order of the Gauntlet and being more willing to help with like actual supplies, provisions, people, whatever.
Yeah, but they may not, you know. Yeah, we'll figure it out. They may not know anything about Graven Hollow or, you know, some of the other stuff that's through there. And they may want something even steeper than, you know, they're willing. Because if the Order of the Gauntlet or whatever is all like, yep, we'll help you, but you have to join, you know, to Bomir. Well, you know, that's your choice on that, but, you know, it may not do any good.
Well, let me talk to the Enclave and whatnot.
Yeah, so what we need to do still on the list is I need to talk to the Archmage. Valdu wants to talk to the Enclave, and Bomir is going to talk to which
Order
faction?
of the Gauntlet.
Order of the Gauntlet. Okay. And possibly the other one to try to bring more help to. So who's contacted you so far? Both of the militaristic orders, Bomir?
Yeah, the Lord's Alliance and the Order of the Gauntlet.
Okay. That's it, because the Harpers have talked to me, and we've talked to the Zentarum. I think that's all the current and the Enclave, but we already got an in with them. So So whenever you two decide, I'll roleplay later after you two get done, since I did last time, and then we'll go with it from there. Sound good?
All right. You want to go to the Enclave?
Yeah.
Let's
Just
do it.
waiting on Tony.
I'm right here. Now, one thing you guys should discuss and decide is what type of aid you're going to be asking for.
Okay. Like aid to help Bruner. Like,
This is Bruner is appointing you in charge of this, both negotiations and leading. So, it's your mission. Your mission is to find Graven Hollow, find additional information, use the additional information to formulate a plan to eliminate the threat. He's brought together these 5 major surface organizations unable to reach the Underdark organizations or settlements for the purposes of support. What support you request is up to you. The Zentarum made their offer of twofold, well, multiple-fold, access to their share in Mantle Dareth, their routes there, and their offer of 8 forces.
yeah. So, what do you guys want to get from everybody else then? You think manpower, provisions?
No, I think we should try to get manpower, provisions, see if the places, even the other factions, even know where Mantle Dareth is. If they do, we can try to figure out some way that they can show us, or if anybody knows about Graven Hollow. I mean, we should find out as much as we can.
From
Well, I'm definitely going to ask if they know anything about the Graven Hollow. What do you guys want? Manpower past that?
manpower, provisions. So far, what I have: manpower, provisions, information on Graven Hollow, and Mantle Dareth. I think that'll probably be the biggest ones. Is just the manpower and provisions. I mean,
Yeah.
we can get people all day long, but if we can't provide them food or help them out with that, then we're going to be spending all of our time just freaking hunting and gathering, trying to find food for everybody.
Well, with the Enclave, food's probably not going to be an issue. It'll be bland, but it won't be an issue. If
That's
I'm not
fine.
mistaken, it can create food.
And that may be something for the Enclave as well, is, hey, can you give us manpower and maybe a couple low-level people who can provide provisions on top of people who can help us fight or help us with this issue.
What was it called again? Mantle Grim?
No, Mantle Dareth. And the other is Graven Hollow, which is the library.
Right. Tony, did you get them whispers on Fantasy Grounds?
I got them. I'm just letting you guys do your thing.
So, does that sound pretty good? Manpower and provisions?
I mean, I'm going to ask for as much as I can, but yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, try to get, but at the minimum, try to get those. Because I don't want to set, me personally, and this Oren's going to follow along with this idea, I don't want to set up a battle plan before we have the information we need. Because we can take everybody and their mother down to Mantle Dareth, but what happens if something happens a roundabout way, not coming through Mantle Dareth area? Or do you guys want to set up checkpoints along the way? But if we do checkpoint, we're going to have, quite a few people at each, post or provision. Or you guys just want to see how much manpower they're willing to give us all, and then decide how we want to use it.
I think we should do that route.
Yeah, don't want to set the cart before the horse.
Indeed.
All right, off to the Enclave.
That
Okay.
being said, Valdu would turn and head off to the Enclave to go speak with somebody.
Okay. Everyone, or is it just Valdu going? Or I mean, obviously, some organizations have a different approach. Approaching the Zentarum in force is much different than approaching, for example, Valdu is a member of the Emerald Enclave. He was their representative in Blingden Stone.
Well, I mean,
So who is approaching is my question.
I'm definitely approaching, and if no one came with me readily, then he would just head off alone.
I mean,
The Emerald Enclave have a series of rooms, but the representative of the Emerald Enclave here is based out of Gauntlgrim, so it's less temporary, more permanent. I'm just generally curious who's going.
I would not go because I really don't have interest unless Valdu wants me to go, but I mean, that's not my thing, and I don't want to set them off.
If anything, he would seem hesitant to bring other people.
Okay, so just Valdu.
There you go.
Okay, Valdude would walk in, ask for the representative. I cannot remember her name for the life of me. Let me get it off of it.
That's fine. If somebody wants to start a note and track the forces that you are gathering, I will provide you information more in depth on that. Just if you guys want to keep your own running tab or one person.
I'll do it.
The representative for the Emerald Enclave is based out of Gauntlgrim, as I said. She is a dwarven scout named Marista Malkin. And you're aware of her, Valdu, through the organization, but you have never met her. When you do approach her, she welcomes you, lets you guys in, or lets you in, I should say, and generally asks if you just, for a further, more in-depth explanation of your actions in the Sphere of Nebulin city, as well as additional information on your escape. You don't have to detail it here. We've already gone over it in the previous sessions. I'm just, for her generally, she's asking for it.
Right, he would more or less generalize absolutely everything. He would say, parts of interest in detail, everything that he has seen, and, they more or less told him about the demons and whatnot.
Okay. Marista basically says in the days and weeks leading up to this meeting, she had been keeping King Bruenor up to date on the issues in the Underdark. Marista's scouts have seen issues. They've seen it growing in severity. She was one of the ones that pushed for King Bruenor to act. They are expecting it to continue to get worse. The Emerald Enclave is already ready to support King Bruenor, as well as their own interests. They are absolutely willing to provide you with their own scouts, their Emerald Enclave scouts. They have 3 that they are able to send out. They only have 6 in Gauntlgrim besides Marista herself. They will send you with half of their company, but they will also be able to send a lizard mount along for each of their scouts, and they will be able to provide a lizard mount for each of you.
Fantastic. Now, do they know anything about either the library or Mantle Dareth?
They know nothing about Mantle Dareth or Graven Hollow. Graven Hollow is an academic, intellectual thing that they don't often cover. They tend to focus on the balance between nature and civilization, something that she's trying to establish here. But that's something that others deal in. She can tell you that if you are going down, about a month ago, one of her scouts disappeared while on a long-distance scouting mission. Her scouts tend to do scouting missions in half-day increments, half day out from Gontal Grim, a day out, day and a half out. He was out on a 7-day scout throughout the tunnels, and he disappeared. He never returned.
Where exactly was he scouting? Was there a place in specific?
She doesn't know. They do tend to try to cover the paths outside of a day around Gontalgrim. They don't just go in every direction. They do within a day. Outside of that, they tend to cover the path leading between points of civilization. But generally, she doesn't know. She can provide you his name and a description, but other than that, that's about all she has. She would assume that if he was in trouble, he would make for a point of civilization, because those are the only oases of survivability in the Underdark.
Right.
I'll type the name, but she tells you he was a wood elf named Slottus Vadir. And she says that if you see him, she would appreciate if you could help him in any way, but that he may be dead, and if that's the way things went, she understands it, but please don't jeopardize the mission King Bruenor is asking for.
All right. Next he would speak, next Vadu would ask of food. We're going to have a lot of people. We're going to need provisions for them.
She says that the Emerald Enclave absolutely can provide you food. The scouts are experienced survivalists in the Underdark. Her scouts that she would be willing to provide you are frequent travelers of the Underdark, both near and far away from Gontalgrim. They can provide some. They can provide enough food that the lizards can carry. And if you can secure the supply lines, then they can absolutely resupply you as frequently as necessary. But they can provide you a substantial amount of food, and then the scouts in addition will be able to keep the majority of the expedition supplied. And that was one of the reasons why she was sending these 3 along.
Fantastic.
I'm not trying to interrupt the role playing, but so far I have 3 personnel / scouts and lizard mounts for the Enclave and our party, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so keep going.
Vadu would, quickly thank her for her time and say if there is anything else that she can be of assistance with, or he can be of assistance with, do not hesitate to get a hold of him. Do not hesitate to get a hold of him, and he will come quickly.
She says she appreciates that, and she will be fine here in Gontalgrim with their defenses. You should focus primarily on the mission, because it seems like it's a pretty overwhelming task.
That being said, he would turn and take his leave after thanking her once more. After that, he goes back, tells the party, what they're getting, and what the Enclave is helping with.
Everybody on Lizard sounds pretty nice.
And for the record, they are willing to provide barding and saddles. These are trained lizards. And if you would prefer your lizard, Bomir, they will provide barding for it. Not plate mail, but some barding.
That's awesome.
Didn't you already buy barding for your guy?
I did not. It is too expensive.
He looked at the price of barding.
And then
I pretty much spent everything that I have on this armor.
He spent all of his money plus a good chunk of someone else's.
Yeah. Let me check. I have 1 gold piece and 8 copper pieces total.
You po.
You want to borrow some money?
I'm sure if it came to it,
First Bank of Sullander.
First Bank of Orin, come on.
Yeah, that's true, I suppose.
Okay, so
Hold on one second, Tony, before you continue. Okay, the only requirements, which is not really a requirement, but I'm putting it down as, is if we happen to run across a scout named Saldus Vadar to help him or save him or whatever, but not a requirement.
Correct. It's not, oh, please, this is what we need you to do for our help. They're going to help you for multiple reasons. They're based out of Gontal Grim. They have loyalty to King Bruenor. They see the threats from the Underdark. But they're saying, since you're going into the Underdark, if you see him, please give him aid. He's one of ours.
Since you was there.
Sensuous. Okay, so this is what I got for the Enclave. I'm beating a dead horse, but I want to make sure I have everything on this, because I'm
I'm
writing
about
it
to
down.
send it to you.
Okay. Well, if you look at the pledge support and notes, you should see most of it.
I'm giving you names. You can write that down. Everybody can keep going. I'm just typing and operating at the same time.
Alright, I guess we can just move on to the next place. We'll go to the Order of the Gauntlet. Or at least I will. Anybody else who wants to come along can. I'm sure they wouldn't care.
Durandon tags along.
Alrighty.
Okay, you make your way to the Order of the Gauntlet. I'm going to say collection of rooms. And it's the same general thing that you saw before. They are generally guarded doors. They're upstanding looking knights. They have squires. They notice you right off the bat, Bomir, and welcome you in. They take you into their representative, who introduces himself again, not because he thinks you forgot, but just out of formality and respect, as Sir Lanavar Strahl.
Alright, I'll go ahead and tell him that he obviously knows that we're going on the mission for the king, I imagine. But tell him that
He does.
where we're going, and I'm specifically wanting to know mainly about trying to find out information about the library at Graven Hollow?
Yes.
Is that right? Yeah, Graven Hollow and
Mantle Dareth.
Mantle Dareth. Damn, my memory is terrible. If he knows the location or anything about it.
He tells you that they know of it. They've heard of it, that it is a very ancient library. The Order doesn't tend to deal in that. The Underdark is a proving grounds for them. They send their veteran paladins, monks, clerics, and leaders to make a difference in the world when there isn't threats or large enough threats that aren't already being handled by Order resources from the surface. But they tend to do forays into the Underdark, not expeditions, if that makes sense. They don't necessarily oppose this mission. They don't necessarily want to send their own leaders in support of. But Sir Lanavar asks you, as a paladin of the goodly gods, if you believe this to be an order or an expedition that has a chance of success and is designed or intended to eliminate evil.
Well, I'll tell him that it is definitely to eliminate evil. And as for if there's a chance of success, I guess I'll sort of nod and not really provide an answer as if I don't know.
He asks if you would be willing to take responsibility for any troops that they provide you.
I would agree. I would say I could take responsibility for all of them.
He says that the order cannot provide anyone to lead these troops, but he will provide you 5 of his veteran knights, as well as he would request that you take one of their squires as your own.
Oh.
Well, that's a bugbear of a different color.
Right. Okay, I'll agree.
I should have asked the Emerald Enclave if they had an extra animal.
Hey, don't forget resources, provision stuff.
I mean, they're pretty much providing everything we can carry, right? I mean, what else? I'll ask them if there's anything else. I'll tell them that we're being provided with food and stuff like that. All that we need mounts. If there's anything that he would suggest that he could provide that would help us on our trip.
They'll provide you with general sundries for the trip, for their people, obviously, food, and just the general necessities of traveling.
All right.
He also says that as a paladin of Helm, who he may not necessarily follow himself, but that he respects, he has been sent with a gift for whoever King Bruenor chooses to bestow this mission on. And he pulls out from his area, a chest near his bed, a warhammer that is on each side of the warhammer is stamped the Order of the Gauntlet symbol. And he tells you it was a warhammer carried by one of the early members of the Order of the Gauntlet, a dwarven cleric. And he offers it to you and tells you that should you desire, the Order of the Gauntlet is willing to accept you as an application, a member in application, someone who is attempting to join, and bestow upon you, at least, obviously, awaiting a full review, an honorary entry membership with this Warhammer to lead their troops, basically to grant you the authority, should you desire it.
Is that something I have to answer right away?
No, the Warhammer is going to be yours regardless, as are the troops in support of King Bruenor, because they do act in the Underdark, but he's just making you aware of an offer.
I'll tell him I'll definitely be considering it.
And he thanks you for your time and tells you that if you need anything else, they will be staying for about another 10 days before heading out.
All right. I thank him, and I go ahead and leave.
Durandon kind of bows on his way out the door.
I kind of
He returns your bow, but you can tell it's a very different approach towards you, Durandon, than it is towards Bomir. It's more curt formality as opposed to open, welcoming acceptance.
Yeah, I just like making people uncomfortable.
I guess the only one. I guess we could go talk to the Lord's Alliance. I mean,
There's also the Harpers.
I got the Harpers. I'll be talking to in a little bit.
A little protective of the Harpers there.
They sought me out. I talked to him. I have a relationship with the Archmage. He told me to stop by.
No
I'll
one's
take care of the
judging you.
Harpers.
Okay, it's your guys' show.
Hey, real quick, sorry. Order of the Gauntlet, they don't have any requirements. 1 second.
Ignore that. It was an accidental share.
Okay. I have 5 veteran personnel / knights. I have all their names. 1 squire to assist Bomir, and a warhammer to Bomir.
That is right.
Correct.
And they're not required anything. They're not requiring anything for the help.
Not for
just
you.
asking for me to join.
But
Their aid is in response to an alliance with King Bruenor.
Yeah, not exactly. Just me joining out.
yeah, but I'm saying this is all pledge support is what I have, and they're not having any requirements, just like the Emerald Enclave really didn't have any requirements.
Yes, sir.
Sounds good.
Now, damn, I was just about to. All right, I guess we'll just go talk to the Lord's Alliance real quick. I can't imagine much else that we would need. We already have so many people. I mean, more the merrier, I guess.
Yeah, but if we set up a stronghold or a waypoint or way station, they get to keep them there and start setting that up for advanced guard for Brunner if we decide to go that route.
Okay.
Or we just take them all. Meet Shield 6, get in there.
Okay, so who is wanting to go talk to the Lord's Alliance?
They approached me. They did approach. Yeah, they approached me. I guess I'll go, and of course, everybody else who wants to come can.
Good.
Okay. Nobody else stepping forward?
I mean, I'll go if you want me to go, but I don't really need to.
Yeah, you don't. Nobody else really needs to go, I imagine, unless you really have something to say.
Okay. They have the same approach. Obviously, they are an organization representing the larger cities. The vast majority of them are either nobles or noble household guards. So they're definitely well versed in the art of diplomacy. They welcome you in, and like the same leader you saw at the feast, it's a moon elf. He introduces himself as Lord Aravian Hond, and he tells you that he is from Waterdeep. His family is from Waterdeep, but he is a courtier for the Lord's Alliance, so he does travel without any specific loyalty or representation from the city or any specific city. And he welcomes you, makes you comfortable, provides you, the drink and food of hospitality before settling down and asking what you came for.
Before we start, does this place look like it's is this organization bigger than the Order of the Gauntlet? Have more resources and things like that?
It's different. The Order of the Gauntlet is going to be a collection of knighthoods, or the Order of the Gauntlet may have, a knighthood over here dedicated to Helm, a knighthood over here dedicated to Tyr, a priesthood in a city. So it depends on the situation. You're going to find a substantially higher ratio or higher trained people in combat from the Order of the Gauntlet. They're going to be much more experienced in actual hand-to-hand combat and actually going into places of danger, because that's what the Order of the Gauntlet does. The Order of the Gauntlet dispatches their people to fight evil. If it's evil in Phandelver, they're going to send their troops there immediately. But they, as I said, they're a collection of similarly aimed knighthoods, priesthoods, clerics, paladins, fighters of goodly gods fighting evil. The Lord's Alliance is a diplomatic alliance, as it sounds, between major cities such as Neverwinter, Waterdeep, and a lot of the lower cities and medium-sized cities, Yatar, Tribor. So they're going to have the resources of an entire city or multiple cities, but they're also going to have the lack of purpose, if that makes sense. They have the potential, if they're able to harness their purposes together, they would have substantially greater resources, possibly less trained. Their troops are going to be obviously primarily behind the walls of Waterdeep or Mirabar, as opposed to knee deep in goblin corpses.
Okay. Well, in that sense, I guess I'll ask more towards if they have any information about Graven Hollow, its location, or how to get there, or anybody that might know how to get there, and Mantle Dareth as well.
The Moon Elf, Lord of Aravian, says that he's unaware of any holdings belonging to the Zentarum or Stone Giants. They tend to focus primarily on surface issues, the orc invasions, many issues with the Utgard tribe, barbarians raiding. Those are the things that concern them. They tend to deal with issues that are a threat to them. And he tells you pretty much he has seen some indications that something in the Underdark is off. Occasional threats that used to exist disappearing. Drow raiding posts that were a threat are no longer there. But other than that, they haven't seen anything that indicates that the surface is threatened by this situation in the Underdark.
Okay. So, because of that, I'm guessing they're not going to really be able to provide very much or be willing to provide very much as far as decisions provisions.
He's reserving that decision for this conversation. He's basically telling you that from what he's seen, the reports from his scouts and his spies and his troops are showing that there's something off in the Underdark, but it doesn't affect us. It's not affecting us. We're not seeing it affect us. So he's asking you, why should he commit troops and then have to go back and explain to the lords of Waterdeep and Neverwinter and Mirabar why he sent troops into the Underdark? And he's asking you, explain to me something that I can explain to my superiors to justify why I would send our troops possibly on a suicide mission, which most missions into the Underdark are by our knowledge, for an issue that doesn't seem to affect us. At least not in any negative way. The drill raiding parties are disappearing. The orcs are withdrawing. We don't see any negative influence on our settlements.
Well, I guess I'll tell him. I'll mainly dive into the fungus demon, which was the. Hold on, I had it.
Zuckmoy.
Yeah, that's right. I never know how to pronounce that. And tell him that it's a. It's just a demon lord that's pure evil. That's just all about controlling everything and just almost complete domination. And eventually, even though it's not a problem here right now, if it's not stopped, it will completely control everything under the Underdark and eventually come to here.
He says in the drow of Menzoberranzan, the gnomes of this, what did you call it, Blingden Rock, and the rest of these settlements can't handle these threats. They require the surface to commit our troops and our resources to handle their problem. Are the Underdark organizations or settlements and civilizations not responding to this? Or are they unable?
It's not entirely that I think that they're unable. It's just that I think that they'd be mainly unwilling unless it's in their own interest. And I think they will avoid conflict if possible.
He says, so that further brings me back to the point for why should we send our troops into the Underdark to handle a problem in the Underdark that the Underdark won't handle?
Well, I guess I can't give him a reason. And that... I guess I'll just tell him that by the time that it's taken over and destroyed all the creatures of the Underdark and all the inhabitants of the Underdark, it might be too late. And that's the best that I could give for a reason of acting now, rather than waiting until then.
Okay. Does anyone else there want to speak up?
I don't think there's anyone else there.
I don't think anybody can even.
I can't say nothing. I'm not there.
I didn't restrict anybody. If anybody wanted to tag along, you're welcome to have.
All right. Yeah. In that case, I tagged along. Vadu would pipe up and say, "So, what will you tell your children when all of your surroundings are overrun and you're next?"
And he nods and says, I respect you, Master Druid, but you must understand that frequent demands are made on the resources of the great cities. Every settlement that sees a shadow crawling across the frontier suspects an orc invasion. At what point do the great civilizations and cities of the north decide that we have limited resources? Where do we engage them? You're telling me that the civilizations and settlements of the Underdark will not respond to this threat, or are unable or unwilling. You're telling me it could potentially become a threat to us if it's not handled. So I grasp your approach of, if it becomes a problem, what will we do then, and what will we do if we are overrun? But that can be applied to every situation in the worst case scenario. He says, Master Druid, do you know how many situations we hear? And do you know how many of them reach worst case scenario?
At that point, Vadu would shake his head no and say, "No, sir, I do not."
Oren, who tagged along, will gently clear his throat to get the commander's attention.
He turns to you and says, Master Mage, please, I do not mean to be belittling or insulting, but you must understand that I must explain my position, and at this point you have not convinced me that saving the Underdark is worth our resources.
I understand wholeheartedly. What I believe that our illustrious leader was trying to convey is the severity of this. We have encountered down here alone 3 demon lords. With the demon lords on the material plane, it is weakening bonds between other planes. You saw it yourself the other night with the water. Pause is trying to think. The water gates weakening, and it caused the primordial to awaken for a second, releasing 4 of the fire elementals. He takes a breath, concentrating or thinking it through for a second. If this one primordial, just one, gets loose, the entire north will be ravaged. There will be no survivors in the north, and that's not even counting on the demon lords that we have already encountered, who will, the 3 that we have encountered, who will destroy the Underdark and who will keep going. There are many different openings and entrances into the Underdark. Some of them come up within your cities that you have, or within days of most of the cities. So are you telling me that you want a primordial or a demon lord or demons that the demon lord summons to this plane coming up in your father's house and wreaking havoc? This is not a localized issue. This is a major problem that's going to affect the whole world. This is going to be worse than the Sundering if we do not take care of this issue. And
roll a
Oren
persuasion check.
Yep.
I don't care who, but roll it with advantage.
Whoever has the highest charisma.
I have plus
16
1.
plus 3.
I am plus 0.
Okay.
But
Then go ahead
I have
and roll-
lucky.
Well, go ahead and roll advantage. Josh. No. You only have plus 0. Let me roll it with advantage. I have lucky.
All right.
I'll keep it.
Yeah, 18 not good enough for you?
Hey, just saying.
For the record, checks like this, you're more than welcome to use your inspiration to add the appropriate dice. Not saying you should have or need to. I'm just making you aware that those are the type of things you can use them on outside of combat.
Okay,
But-
give me 1 second. I want to see what this other roll would be, whether I want to use it or not. I'm going to pull an Eddie. Yeah, I'll stick with not using my lucky.
So, he listens to your impassioned speech and says, I cannot commit my entire retinue, but I do understand the situation has the potential to blossom out of control. I don't know if I would go as far as to expect our walls to be overrun, Master Druid, but I do understand that the situation of demon lords can grow out of control.
Master
Is it-
Druid or Master Wizard?
He's talking to you.
Okay.
He doesn't believe his walls are going to be overrun. He's talking to the group in general. But Master Mage, I am willing to commit 5 of my personal guards, as well as 3 of the scouting or spies from Yatar. I can have them here within 2 days, and I will be able to provide that and the resources for them.
Orin looks questioningly to Bomir.
Oh, I'll definitely agree. I'm not in agreement.
Valdu would thank him very much for, his understanding, patience to hear out the problem, and so on and so forth.
So it'll be 5 guards and 3 spies. This is that is the most I can contribute, but I do respect your perspective and understand the potential danger. He thanks you guys for your information as well as your passion on this issue, and he hopes that you're able to eliminate the threat so that we can continue to expand civilization into the dark, wild areas of the north.
Alright, I guess I'll end there.
Orin would stand up, bow to the Lord, and walk away.
I should do the same.
Okay?
Yep.
Damn, good shit, Matt. That was good.
Thanks.
You still would have got a check, it just would have been at disadvantage.
Huh?
After the eloquence of the druid and paladin. But some people are better at talking to nice than they are to diplomats. That's why we have different characters.
Yeah, Valdu's just kind of direct to the point.
So the Harpers are the only organization to which you have not spoken.
And after this meeting, Orin would go to the Harpers.
Okay? Anybody's welcome to come along or not. I'm not restricting you guys.
Derided
Oh, good.
tags along.
The Harpers are a lot smaller. They tend to have a couple servants. The majority of their retinue is Lord Roarington's personal noble family servants, not as in his body servants, but just people providing his own needs as his position as a noble. And he welcomes you guys in, has you guys brought wine, food, obviously not big meals, you've had multiple already.
Rodman looks over at Orin.
He welcomes you guys in, and you notice in the corner his shield guardian still standing there, looking shield and guardian-y. And he has on his same amulet. He asks you guys how your negotiations with the other organizations are going.
Orin, after a bow to the Lord, acknowledging the higher rank of the Archmage, says, so far everything has gone splendidly, Archmage. We have pulled together a very strong advanced party.
And he says, that's good. He says, but sadly I lack the troops. He said, I am simply an Archmage from Waterdeep. I manage the interpolitics of the city to contain the desires and overreachingness of the nobles from affecting the people to the best of my ability. I don't have troops or soldiers to commit to your cause. So what brings you to my door?
Well, as a party, we would like to request that anything you could possibly provide, even if it is your knowledge of the library of Graven Hollow. I have had numerous, or not numerous, I have read slightly, it has come across to my teaching or my learning of the Demon Lords, and as you well know, knowledge is power, and the more power we can get to fight against these Demon Lords, the better off the entire world will be. As a personal knowledge, I would like to discuss, or as personal request, I would like to discuss the knowledge of your Shield Guardian. Of if you would be willing to impart the knowledge of how it was created upon me, if there's anything I could do to gain that knowledge. So it is twofold. Primarily, we would like to know about the Graven Hollow, though.
He tells you he's been to Graven Hollow. He tells you, one, that you don't find Graven Hollow. Graven Hollow finds you. The library is protected by magic that is no longer possible in the Weave. Magic that existed before the empires of Nethranil. Magic that allows the librarians to not only study the past, but the present and the future. They have a librarian for each, as well as countless options of storage, cataloging. So Graven Hollow will provide you a massive amount of information, as well as methods and ways of learning the different things you are looking for, if you can find it. He tells you that the library often decides you are either worthy or unworthy, or if you have a key. He says, I no longer have a key, so I cannot provide that to you. He said, I can provide you with some aid. I cannot provide you right now with the methods for creating a Shield Guardian. They are not on my person. He says, but if you are willing and worthy, I will provide you with this, my own personal Shield Guardian, since it is the only option I have to contribute to this expedition, since I imagine you will be leaving in the near future.
Orin bows, a seated bow, very deeply to the Archmage. Thank you. The information you provided of Graven Hollow is, for for the most part, information that I have come across, the key is something that I have not seen or read about yet. So I thank you for that extra.
He says they
Bit of-
tend to be rings or necklaces that will assist one when they reach the vicinity of Graven Hollow to cease its moving, or at least convince the library and its librarians to grant you entrance and find the passages and tunnels that will lead you to the library.
If I may, Archmage.
He turns to you and says, "Of course."
What dictate a person is worthy to enter?
He shrugs his head, or shrugs his shoulders, and says, "No one knows the mind of the librarians of Graven Hollow. They are stone giants. They believe the surface is a dream world." And he says, "Without a key, I cannot at all begin to imagine why or why not the librarians would grant you or deny you entrance."
Durandon bows and says thank you.
He says, "Have you ever played chess, Master Gnome?"
Orin gets a half smile on his face and says, "Yes, I am well acquainted with the game and theory behind it."
He says, "I have found that the game of chess allows one to determine someone's intellectual capability." He says, I am a noble by birth of the city of Waterdeep, and gambling is a pastime of the nobles. He says, I will match wits with you in a game of chess, and if you can beat me, I will loan you my shield guardian, and I would appreciate it if it came back intact." And he waves his hand, and some of the servants rush over and bring a probably 500-600 gold piece crystal and ivory chessboard and set it down and says, "Assuming you accept, the first move is yours."
Orin smiles a little bit larger and says, "Yes, I will definitely play you, my lord, and good game to you."
To prevent it from turning into a 3-hour game of chess, we will represent it by the best of 3 intelligence checks.
Okay.
Hold on 1 second. Durandon goes over to stand with the servants to observe the games, and in the process asks the servant, tells the servants that he has 5 gold pieces on his man to win if there are any takers.
You realize
The
servants usually don't have gold pieces, right?
The servants don't have that type of money to bet you, but they are willing to bet you a cask of Lord Roarington's private wine stock.
Accepted.
Alrighty.
Okay, before we get started, Tony, I haven't used a lucky yet. I have 3 luckies. Before
I know
you
how many
say,
luckies you have.
okay, I'm just making sure. So I'm gonna roll, and if I don't like it, I'm basically gonna roll twice. I'm not gonna do advantage. Roll twice, and the second one will be my lucky roll. And of course, if it's higher, I'm taking that one. Okay.
Okay.
Definitely my lucky.
This
Damn.
motherfucker got a +9.
Damn, he's good.
There is a reason why he's called Archmage.
Yeah, he's shit hot, I guess. Yeah,
We're
take
fucked.
the 3. Yep, I'm not getting it. Oh well.
Okay, one more.
Using my lucky there.
Ooh.
Natural 20, yeah. He stomped my ass.
He bows his head to you and tells you good game. And then tells you that when you return, seek him out. And he is willing to grant a game to any of your other compatriots.
Durandon shells over his 5 gold coins to the servants begrudgingly.
And Lord Roarington looks to you and says, Master Elf, I've played many of your people. Care to try your hand?
Give it a shot. What's the worst that happens? Orin
Not
gets
at
up
chess.
and gestures towards his chair.
Not at chess, but do you fancy a game of cards?
He shakes his head and says, I will play you in chess for my shield guardian.
Yeah, okay.
Valdu would watch, ready to play the next game if needed.
But intelligence, right?
Correct.
Can I use wisdom instead of intelligence?
As long as the wisdom modifier is identical to your intelligence modifier, absolutely.
Yeah, ignore that roll. Alright, I'm gonna do the same thing with my luckies. Well,
Needless to say, he won the first round. And it's best of 3, so
Oh my god, we're terrible.
he pretty much roundly stomps you.
Alright, Valdu sits down.
nah, hold on a second. I got one more game.
Another natty 20.
But it's the
It's
best
best-
2 out of 3.
Best 2 out of 3, and he beat you 2. You can
Which
roll
means
it.
I get a third game.
No, it's not a third game. It's 3 checks per game.
So you basically.
Durandon stands up and goes to sit in a corner.
Orin is still by the chessboard watching the games.
I'm doing the same thing with the luckies. Okay, I'm definitely taking that one.
Nice.
I'm taking that one as well.
So what you want?
I won.
You actually have to re-roll that last check, or it's a 17, not a 21, because you rolled a wisdom check,
Oh,
not an
shit, I
intelligent.
did.
You can keep the dice, but it'd be a +1, which would be a 17, not a 21, which still beats his 12.
Yeah, then I'm keeping it.
What were you gonna say, Eddie?
That.
I can't believe the Druid won a fucking chess game when the Wizard lost. That's some bullshit.
The dice giveth, and the dice taketh away.
So
Yep.
the
The
Druid
Archmage,
would look over at the Archmage with some astonishment in his own eyes, but trying to, hide it somewhat and say, so how exactly do I control the Shield Guardian?
the Archmage slides the amulet off his neck and hands it over to you. He tells you that the Shield Guardian is magically bound to the amulet. As long as the Guardian and the amulet are on the same plane of existence, the amulet's wearer can telepathically call the Guardian to travel to it, no matter how far away. The Guardian will find you. If the Guardian is within 60 feet of you, it takes half of the damage you take, rounded up, automatically. and you can store one spell of 4th level or lower inside of it. And when commanded to do so by the wearer, or you specify a predefined trigger, the shield guardian itself will cast the spell with the parameters of the original spell, not upcast or anything like that. But it can also physically fight as well.
Excellent.
Now, the guardian is attached to the amulet. He's loaning it to you, meaning he expects you to return it. If you want to have Sully or someone else use it, that's fine. You want to use it, I don't care. But it's attached to the amulet. Whoever is wearing the amulet controls the shield guardian. But the shield guardian can have a spell put into it. Right now, he tells you it has a 4th level, or a lightning bolt upcast 1 level, basically 9d8 or 6, I believe it is, that he has put into it.
Okay, so it can be upcast.
Well, lightning bolt could, because it's a level 3 spell and the limit is 4.
Okay, fair enough. The druid would ask, or Valdu would ask, if he hands the amulet to somebody else right in front of him, can it be entrusted to that person instead?
If that is your desire. The Archmage respects the adventuring life, and if you wish someone else to be given the amulet, he will trust your judgment.
Valdu would turn and hand the amulet to the party leader and say, "You better return this. I don't want it."
You handed it. Did Bomir go with us?
I did say I did, so I guess not.
Nah. Damn it, Bomir.
I would take it if you. I would take it. With my cold dead hands, I would take it. or out of yours. I mean, either one works.
No, well, either way, Valdu doesn't
That's what I
fucking want to hold the damn thing, so he would, in fact, turn around and hand it to the wizard and say, "You know a lot more about it than I do." And at that point, he would turn around and look at the Archmage and go, "Okay, no, he's got the debt to you, not me."
Orin, with a look of surprise on his face, reverently holds the medallion and thanks Valdu very sincerely.
Valdu would, nod his head, still equally as surprised, as in, "Holy shit, I can't believe I just now beat this Archmage in chess," and walk the hell away.
Okay, as you guys are getting ready to leave, Lord Roarington asks you, Orin, if you will give him just a second of your time.
Orin, still in shock from receiving the medallion, puts it over his head and bows deeply to the Archmage and says, "Yes, my time is yours, my lord."
He says that his apprentice has become bothersome and full of wanderlust, and he is curious if you'd be willing to take his apprentice as yours so that he can get out and see the world under a mage who is still traveling the world rather than acting as more servant than apprentice between meetings and his duties as a noble and a harper.
Orin's face goes from shock more to concern, gets a look on his face as if he's contemplating it. Says, "My lord, if I may ask, how proficient and how," he searches for the word,
what circle of specimens
powerful
obtained
is this apprentice?
For the record, it would be the equivalent of a squire at this point, meaning it's a non-combatant. It wouldn't be a level 1 wizard chasing you into battle, getting one shot. it would be a non-combatant for now.
Right. But
It would be a role-played character, but it would be a non-combatant under the obvious idea that if you guys are going into battle, the apprentice and squire don't tend to charge in beside you. If the whole group gets trapped in a cave-in, it's probably going to die with you. But in general, it's a non-combatant.
yes, but he doesn't like. He knows he's not a level. He's still a apprentice, but he's trying to figure out how powerful he can get, and if he's very proficient in his studying, or if he's just kind of.
He's proficient in his studying and well-versed and wanting to get practical experience.
Orin thinks it over and looks up the Archmage and nods his head and says, I would be delighted to take on your apprentice for as long as you deem necessary.
He says, I'll just expect the return of the Shield Guardian amulet, and the apprentice can make his own decisions. He's a noble of Waterdeep, and he wants to travel. I will send him your way before we depart, and that is all I have need of you.
And Orin would bow very deeply to the Archmage and say thank you for your time and the loan of this amulet, my lord.
He nods and wishes you, and you specifically, good luck, and the entire expedition.
As we leave the room, I look at Orin and ask him, which one do you think will arrive back in one piece, the amulet or the apprentice?
Orin very quietly chuckles to himself, or chuckles aloud, and just shakes his head and just keeps walking.
Depends on how many cliffs there are to push him off of.
I'm just saying! I would never do that. It was a slip.
Again.
I just spit lo mein out all over my computer screen.
You forgot a word. You would never do that again.
No, I would never. I am the fun-loving wizard of the group.
Alrighty then.
Just a couple spells happen to slip, and
So, that aside, you guys can, at this point, we're gonna take about a 5-minute break, and at this point, I'm gonna get a drink, and you guys can discuss how to approach this. And when we pick back up in 5 minutes, you guys can make your plans and discuss the troops you have and how you're going to approach it. And I will cover the actual practical approach of how things are going to work in the actual Underdark with an expedition as opposed to individuals.
I'm gonna go take a piss. When I get back, Matt, can I pull you into another room for a couple minutes? Matt's already gone, isn't he?
no. You said Matt or Mac?
Matthew.
Okay. Yeah, just let me go piss real quick and just holler, and I'll switch over.